We ready?
Euro. Not Euro. Euro. I work for Greeks. I know that. It's the only thing I know about our Greek friends.
Opa.
I know Opa,
Can
but
you give me a Greek middle name?
Yeah.
Sirius.
We're live, baby. I think that's the signal.
Are we on?
Yeah, we don't do 5,
Hi.
2, 4, 3, 2, 1s anymore.
Why don't they warn us when we're on the air? But anyway, good morning, everybody. I am Terrence Reginald Foster III. I gave myself a middle name because I don't have one.
I like the R's roll, though.
And I always say, it's not Reginald, it's Reginald. You have to roll the R.
I can't do that, but I'm going to go with it.
I always thought that you really don't have a middle name.
I do not.
You've done a really good job of Reginald. You've done a really good job because I was convinced that you were Terrence Reginald Foster.
Right. Yeah, and people say, is your middle name Reginald? I said, no, it's Reginald. You got to roll the R. What's wrong with y'all? No, I do not have a middle name. And the name of our show is the Lions Weekly Update. I'll learn it one day.
I like the weekly turnaround, Broder.
I know.
Like, the name of the show is... And Terry flips the chair around.
Oh, the Lions Weekly Update.
Did it change today? No.
No, it did not. Now we're here with the long-winded one, Sean Franklin Baligian.
Oh.
You're serious today?
Are we considering that a Greek nickname?
Yes.
We were talking.
Because we were talking about Greek food today. I don't know why.
No.
'Cause I never eat Greek food.
Like Willie brought it up. Willie
Yeah.
brought up the place he was at, right? Yeah.
Oh, I know that place in the Eastern Market.
Yeah.
I always wondered if that place was good. And he said it was good food. So next time I'm down there, I'm gonna stop by.
Try the Greek
Here-
lamb gyro.
Here's my problem though. I don't
Wait,
like
you hear it?
Gyro.
What?
You hear? We were
Lamb.
having the age-old discussion debate of how to pronounce.
Gyro.
It's not gyro. It's not euro. It's euro.
Yeah. Okay.
It's euro.
Gyro.
Okay.
It's the only thing I know about our Greek culture because I work for Greek people,
Okay. Awesome.
and it's euro. I've learned this stuff about our ethnic friends. For instance, I knew a guy named the name looked like Prisby, and he was Polish. He said, "You're going to be the only one who knows it. It's not Prisby. It's Shibish." He said, "It's not Prisby. It's Shibish."
I had no idea.
I didn't either until you told me.
Wow.
I'm a little lost with that one. Shibish?
It's Shibish.
Shibish. Is that what people describe Brad Holmes' draft? Shibish?
Shibish. Well, speaking
Serious?
of Brad Holmes a little chesty right now, isn't he? He's attacking everybody who questions him.
I don't think he needs to. I don't know why he is that way right now. I don't think he needs to. I think the proof is in the pudding. I mean, you're always going to have people, and Lord knows we deal with them on social media today that are, I'm trying to be different guy. And my favorite is I refuse to fact check. I act purely on emotion guy and things like that. Terry, I don't know why he is.
He might be a little bit sensitive, and maybe that is his flaw. Is why do you care what people are saying? He says, well, I don't know why everyone's all bent out of shape about the edge rusher. I'll tell you why they're bent out of shape. When I was a journalist and I was covering the Lions, I would always, if I talked to someone who was a GM from another team or a coach or something, I would always ask the question, why do the Lions suck? And they wouldn't answer that question, but they would say, here's what you need to win in the National Football League. He said, for the Detroit Lions, don't worry about any other teams except the ones in your division. Learn how to beat Green Bay, the Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, and at the time, and for you young people, it used to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were in that division. So worry about beating them. That's one. Two, protect your quarterback and attack the other quarterback. If you do those three things, you will win.
That was back in the day too. Just a programming note. Tampa sucked year in, year out,
They did.
and they always beat us one time a year. Always,
Yes.
always. Good, bad, or indifferent. Tampa found a way to beat us every gosh
well,
damn
let
year.
me tell you something.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it, you. I'm not. Your nickname next week's gonna be Gosh darn it. That's your thing. No, there was a game end of the season, Lions Tampa, at the Pontiac Silverdome. The Lions had to win to get into the playoffs. If they lost, they were out of the playoffs. Mike O'Hare, who was covering the Lions for the Detroit News, wrote there was the lock of the millennium that the Lions are going to win. Do you want to tell me what happened in that game?
Kevin House caught a touchdown late to beat the Lions. I believe it was 24-17. Right? Am I barking up the right tree?
I thought you would just say they lost. I didn't know you'd have the details.
Well,
but
I
yeah.
have to be long-winded. You know that.
I know.
So.
The Lions lost the game against Tampa.
Oh, it was devastating.
But anyway, Brad Holmes is chesty now. He's attacking the fans. He's attacking the media. Maybe the word attack isn't correct, but he's like, why y'all question? What's up with the edge rusher thing? Edge rusher is important. I think what he's saying, well, I got Aiden Hutchinson, so I'm good. I don't need anything else. And he will point out that they were winning a lot of games with just Aiden as the edge. He's coming back. So what have y'all been out of shape for?
They were winning a lot of games when Aiden Hutchinson went out. I mean, think about it. They
did.
lost. I mean, seriously.
Week 5?
They lost a game. We got blitzed by the Buffalo Bills. I mean, we did. Terry, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. Maybe Brad isn't feeling pressure by the media or fans. Maybe Brad is feeling pressure himself because here you've had these 2 magnificent seasons, and you don't have anything to show for it. So maybe he's feeling pressure on himself. I don't believe those guys. I don't think you get to that point, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. I don't think you get to that point worrying about what other people say. I just one man's opinion.
You shouldn't, but I think I'm going to put myself in Brad's shoes. I came in here and I have turned around a bullshit franchise. It's been awful. And went to the NFC Championship game, won 15 games. You know, I'd be walking around like, yeah, I should be in the Hall of Fame. Because the Lions never won 15 games. They've never won 2 playoff games in one season. So, don't pressure me. And he might be smelling this is my grandmother, smelling his oats a little bit. That means, hey, I'm the man around here. Y'all can't do this. Y'all can't tell me what to do. I know what to do, and I got a game plan. So get off my case.
It's so funny because it reminds me, and we were talking a lot about the Tigers before the show started, but it reminded me a lot of the Tigers both in 06 and last year. Last year will never be replicated. 06 will never be replicated. You know why? Because all of a sudden the specter of expectations jumped in the room.
Sure.
And it was cute with the Lions, and oh goodness gracious, we're hosting a playoff game and we won the division. And there are people out there that call 15-2 and being the number 1 seed a failure. I mean, that's the life. Now, guess what? The specter of real expectations is there. And with that, anything short of what we all are desirous of, you're going to cause the natives to become restless.
Here's what I don't understand about some natives. Some natives are saying the window's already closing or closed.
Well, those are also natives to the mental institute, to the hospital.
Okay.
Those people aren't rational thinkers.
Listen to Sirius, man. Sirius, he don't attack people. Now you got your little Greek name, and now you all big and bad
Just a
now.
little bit, Opa. Just a little bit. No, the conundrum and I think Brad Holmes, maybe his whole staff, they don't like to consider injury history in their plans for the future. They think Marcus Davenport is the solution at the other edge spot with Aiden Hutchinson. They think all of these guys coming back from injury is enough to get the job done, whatever that means to them, get to the Super Bowl. Which, if they all are healthy, it might be good enough. what we know as fans, what the fans know about those players is Marcus Davenport's played about 4 games in the last 5 years. Like, you can't count on that. So we want, if you're not going to draft an edge in the first round, fans wanted depth, or they wanted Landon Jackson in the second round, like these big names in the mock draft. So when you move up, you trade up for a guard that people predicted to go in the next round. It's like, what are you doing, Brad? Like, we want an edge rusher. Brad's like, we don't need one. We have Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport coming back.
Now, I know you don't listen to me, but before the draft, I told you, and I was reading all these mock drafts, the Lions are going to select an edge rusher in the first round. I kept telling all you clowns,
Yep.
Brad Holmes is telling you he's not going to draft an edge rusher.
That was 2 of us. I felt the same way. I thought they were going. Honestly, I said it 100 times when I was in with Spenny and Neil. Don't be surprised if they go IOL. That is, especially looking forward, it's a greater need. You know what people forget too, and it's the running joke. It's like the first day of the draft when you're really mad they didn't get somebody. You look at them and go, "Do you know there's a day 2?" And you're never going to believe this. There's also a day 3. And so what I would tell those people right now, and sometimes reasoning works, sometimes people don't want to be reasoned with. Terry, did you know there's still an opportunity to get some guys even before camp starts?
Yes, but Sean, do you know that no matter who it is, fans are going to look at it as he got somebody off the scrap heap.
Right. And so this is where I would then say, you're right. Did you know there's something called the trade deadline in the NFL? And they are really, really, really desirous to have that become a thing. They want it, because when we grew up, it was nothing. Nothing happened. There weren't trades in the National Football League ever, ever. And you know what? I guess I would tell somebody, if you're one of those people, and as you said, there are a ton of them out there. I would tell people right now, just wait till the trade deadline. If he doesn't make that move, well, then at that point in time, you have a right. But there are some targets that they could go after, Terry. And I know we've talked about one of them from Cincinnati in particular, that maybe something could be done. But this is the price of doing business, man. This is the price of they raise the bar so high. Know that expectation. Anything short of that, and we're going to use words like failure, which is funny because we're a franchise that used to put Wayne Fontes and Jim Caldwell on a pedestal. And now these guys who are doing better than we've ever seen in our life are suddenly failures. Here we are.
Right. Wayne Fontes, the winningest and losingest coach in Lions history.
Good.
Is hilarious.
It always happens like that. Real quick on those expectations, and I think this is where people get confused. Like, I think the season in 2024 as a whole was a failure because my expectations were getting to the Super Bowl or bust. That's what that team was built for. They should have gotten there. They laid an egg in the playoffs. The season is a failure, but what this organization is doing is anything but a failure. They still have injected hope, injected good players for years into this team, injected good coaches into this organization. So the organization's still moving in the right way. The end result last year was a failure on the season. That doesn't mean they still can't get better and have a better year in 2025.
They can't get better. I don't know what it is about this town, but these franchises who reach championship level must face a horrific failure. And losing to the Commanders was a horrific failure.
Let's look at the 49ers the year before.
Let's look at the championship teams, the Red Wings. They had that awful Stanley Cup Finals loss to the New Jersey Devils when Sergei Fedorov celebrates a goal. I don't know if it was the clinching game or the game before the clinching game to make it 5-1 Devils. That was abysmal. The Chris Osgood failed pass against the San Jose Sharks that resulted in them being knocked out in the first round.
Jamie Baker.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was their horrific failure. The Pistons had to go through the Boston Celtics. The Pistons had to go to a Game 5, and it was a 5-game series against the Washington Wizards. It was 2-2. If they had lost that game, they were going to break up the bad boys before they won a championship. So that was their horrific failure, and also Vinnie Johnson and Adrian Dantley colliding and bumping heads and knocking each other out against the Boston Celtics. The Detroit Tigers. Let's go way back to 1967. Looks like they were going to win the pennant, but they fell apart at the end. Then 68, they win it. So that was their horrific failure. And then they just went 30 to 40 years without winning anything until 1984. So it seems like you have to go through tragedy here to win a title. And then when the tragedy is happening, fans get upset, they get angry, and they say, okay, that's it. Let's stop this stuff right now.
You know what I have to do, and this is for myself more than anybody else, because I go through exactly what you guys were just talking about. I look at last season for all the good things, for that Minnesota game, which was awesome. That Sunday night Minnesota game, to be able to sit there that night and watch that game with my son, like that's something I'm going to remember for years to come and everything. But the one thing that we all forget, and I have to remind myself, you didn't just have injuries last year. You had catastrophic, historic injuries. That's fact. That is not an opinion. That is not me trying to pass it off and give a free pass. It was, Terry, incredibly extenuating circumstances. And that was a team that somehow still went 15-2.
Right.
It's
I've never
absurd.
seen this because my philosophy, injuries, next man up, you just keep going. But when it keeps going on and
Bam.
on and on and on, then you can't overcome that.
That's what made the little kid in me, because there's still the little kid in all of us, right? There is. I mean, no matter how small, no matter how big, the little kid in me, in private moments, I sat there saying, maybe I should call Terry right now and ask him if this franchise is cursed. Terry? Hi, it's Sean. Well, hello, Sean Franklin Baligian. Terry,
What's up, little fella?
are the Lions cursed, Terry? Please tell me they're not cursed, Terry. And Terry'd hang up on me, and but really, you couldn't help but go, all right, is there something, like, honestly, was there like some satanic ritual years ago that will keep them from ever winning because they splattered chicken blood all over? Honestly, that's the kind of shit that goes in your mind. That doesn't happen. Like, to that extent, because I'm with you, T. Next man up. Stop with the gosh damn excuses. Next man up. Okay. You're talking about the next man's next man,
right?
In a lot of those cases, it was insane. It really was.
They had to replace the supermarket clerk with the supermarket assistant manager.
Yeah, and the bagger.
Yeah. Right.
A 2-for-1 special. Or Quan Alexander off the street.
And cashier Sarah was in there too, injured.
Yep. They put a LinkedIn job opening out, like who wants to play defensive line for the Lions, and that's the team they went 15-2 with. So there are points to both sides. Brad Holmes, they are getting all these guys back. I'm excited. I tend to lean towards that, or at least the Brad simp in me, and I'll admit it. Brad can do almost no wrong with me. That doesn't mean we can't critique him. We're getting Aiden Hutchinson back, but the point that Wheezy D313 in the chat has made, I'm the only one that believes in Davenport the player. Everyone that has him auto booked for IR needs to have that same energy for everyone. That's the problem with all the guys. Wheezy D313.
Okay, Wheezy, you could be a hero in this town.
Yeah,
we'll see.
There's nothing wrong with Davenport the player. That's the thing. That's the conundrum here. The player on the field is great. Is actually perfect for this team and played really well the first couple games opposite Aiden Hutchinson. He's exactly what this coaching staff wants, but he's never on the field. That's the problem. When do we have to start talking about Lee McNeil almost never being on the field? He keeps getting hurt. We're not going to see him until Thanksgiving this year. So as fans, we just want, if there's a blue chipper in our mind, we want him to go up and get him in the first round or the second round. We all love Hassanein. We love him, but
we got to give that dude a nickname.
It's a project, yeah. There have been some pretty good nicknames in the chat through some of the shows. Maybe we can get some people in the chat to throw them out there. But That's the issue. We see the injuries. We're like, hey, do you not see what's going on? This is historic injury territory. Brad Holmes is like, screw it. I'm going trenches. I'm going with the big dudes.
You know the crazy thing is, have you heard those guys throw that out there one time? They don't use it. They don't use it. They really don't. Have you heard those guys say, Brad, stand in front of everybody. Terry, you've been in more of those pressers than anybody. And Brad comes up there and go, I don't know what you all are talking about. Look at our injuries last year, man. Like you can't compare. I don't hear them do it. And that's why, I don't know, I feel incumbent, and it's not even being a slapdick. Like you were saying you were a Brad Holmes simp. I don't think you're a simp when you're shooting fact.
Right.
Honestly, I give yourself some credit. I mean, to me, it's your job to try to be honest about things and report things accurately. And those were the circumstances last year, fellas.
There is a chance they're not saying it because there's an agreement. Let Brad Holmes do it. Let him be the one that says, woe is me and what's wrong with you folks out there. So we don't have to say that. That's a possibility.
Yeah, it is.
Because sometimes you pass the buck on. But he does seem a little childish. Because even
I like it. I'm going to throw it out there. I like it. I want my GM to have a little hair on his arm. I like him to get a little sassy with the media. It's okay. It's our job to push his buttons. I mean, we're not trying to push his buttons, but it's going to happen. I like when he comes out and stands on his business. He's confident. So far, it's worked. It just hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl yet.
You know what I'm worried about this year?
What?
After the draft, I still haven't seen the Brad Holmes woo hype video.
There was the only one that I saw was those two sitting at the table and the Arnold Schwarzenegger Apollo Creed handshake.
Right.
You know, when he was sitting at
That's
the table
nothing.
with Dan Camp. Yeah. That was just, he did a little clap and a little shimmy, but you're right. There was no woo video. So hey, you know what? It's funny. I've seen a lot of the national people write this, and I forget which mock draft review I was looking at or draft review. And one of the guys said, you can never go wrong. You can never go wrong when you decide to address your trenches. Like I can't berate you for that. And I kind of feel the same way. I really do. I kind of feel the same way. Another one that we were talking about on Big D Energy is he said, this is a draft that is an eat your vegetables draft. Well, I don't want to eat my vegetables as a kid, but my mom and dad were right to say, Sean Franklin Baligian, you are not leaving that table until you eat that damn cauliflower and carrots. So we would have to sit down. And my dad and I would stare at each other, and then I'd go, he ain't going to let me go. And then finally I got to get up. So it was good for you. It was good for this franchise. It was an eat your vegetables kind of graft.
Right. And my family got me with it. Got to eat the carrots. It's good for your eyes. Well, shoot, it didn't work. I can't see.
But if you wait a couple years, you'll realize that your eyes are better than the kid in your class that didn't eat his vegetables or didn't drink his milk. It just takes time to see it. That's what Brad Holmes does in the draft. It just takes time, like eating your vegetables. Steve-O Baby, real quick, wanted me to tell Sean, you just did a good Ric Flair impression right there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Woo! Thank you.
But I didn't see that this year, so I'm a little worried.
No.
Maybe he's not down on the draft this year.
We'll see. Terry Sean Byrne gave us a $5 super chat.
Thank you, Byrne.
Thank you, man. Also, everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here. We got about 200 people in the chat now. Shoot us a comment in the chats. I'll read them to these legends in the sports media industry.
He wanted to call us clowns, but he didn't.
That's more fitting.
Out of respect, I'll call you clowns off air when
Okay.
we're clowning
Thank
around. You send a super chat, we'll move you to the front of the line. Byrne gave $5 and said the Tigers lost 5 World Series in 35 years before winning their first one. The year before winning the first, they lost in the World Series in Game 7. So that's playing into you need something catastrophic to happen to our Detroit teams before they can actually get to their success, get to the mountaintop.
Right. And one other thing that things like that create is a piss off attitude in the locker rooms where they're like, damn, we should have had that. Damn, we should have finished that. And now they're pissed off the next year or for a couple of years after, and they reach high levels. I'm wondering if our Detroit Pistons are going to feel that way. Played a tough series against the Knicks, got screwed in the game. They were trying to win best 5 out of 7 games to win the series. What happens next year? Are they going to be pissed off?
You know what's interesting, too, and just hearing what like Byrne had to say and thinking about the Tigers in particular, I can't help but go back to what Dan Campbell said after they lost to Frisco. And people completely took it the wrong way. They did, okay? Terry, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to take the next step. And I will, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Detroit Tigers of many of your youth. In 2006, this is only the beginning. It took them 5 years to get back to the playoffs. If you told me in 2011, with the way that team finished, and by the way, I'm also going to get on the phone with you and say, hey, I want you to know we're going to go get Prince Fielder. We're going to go get Prince Fielder. We're going to go get David Price. Max Scherzer is going to turn into one of the best pitchers in baseball real soon. You guys need to know this. If you told me we had no World Series out of that, I'd have said you're out of your mind. And it, like when Dan, nobody wanted to hear it, but Dan Campbell said, guys, it's not that easy. And you know what? Fast forward a year later, they didn't get back to that point. They didn't get back to that. So you can do everything right. And we've talked about it so much the last few weeks, fellas. The Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Cincinnati Bengals. Teams that just a few years ago were going, oh, man, we're going to have to put up with this shit for 2-3 more times, right?
But they got an excuse.
Well,
the Kansas City Chiefs.
But I think the overall point remains, Terry, is it's not that easy. I mean, the best laid plans.
It's not that easy, but sit here and tell me if the Lions win 13, 14 games from every year for the next 5 years but never make the NFC Championship game, that you'd be satisfied.
I would not.
Cirrus?
No, I would not.
No. Franklin?
That'd be the end of me.
No.
It would. That'd be the end of me.
You know,
That'd be the end of
he
me.
can talk that, it's not easy to get here, which is true, but they better get there again.
Yep. Oh, they have to. That's it. Just one. I say it all the time. Just one. This franchise more than any franchise because of what they've done. We've all had our moments. Compare the big 4 moments, okay? I know the younger generation. I say this all the time. I feel sorry for you guys. You have had to hear 1984 your entire lifetime. When I was a kid, Terry, I didn't see 68. I hated that team. Little kid logic. I didn't know but I knew everything about a team that I never watched, and it drove me nuts. And then when 84 happened, I stuck my chest out and said, 84, 104, and 58. What do you say about that? 68. That was the guy. The Pistons have had their moments, multiple moments. The Red Wings, obviously, multiple moments. We haven't had our moment for the Lions.
That's a good point.
And because of that, whether we want to admit it or not, it's still in the back of our head. It's the Lions.
Right. Even though I say the Lions are a real franchise.
100%.
Finally.
100%.
I know a lot of people are still thinking, the past is going to come and get them again. This team will get to the Super Bowl one day. They'll be back in the NFC Championship game, even though it's hard, one day. And if they don't, then I don't like the word failure, but it'll be a disappointment, a huge disappointment if they don't go there.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to do it.
I think so, too. I think we're going to see it in the next 2 to 3 years, hopefully in 2025.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
Well, pray on it, Cirrus.
I will.
How could you rule it out? I'm not being funny. How could you sit here today and say, what are you talking about? The Lions have no chance. I categorically deny that logic. I'm sorry.
But, Sean, they lost their offensive and defensive coordinator.
Don't even start.
But,
you know who else did that? The Philadelphia Eagles.
Amazing.
Yeah. And they lost a couple assistant coaches who went with them.
Yeah.
And their next OC that we all predict is now with the New York Jets. All these things are counting against the Lions, but why aren't we mentioning Dan Campbell's still running the show and bringing in guys like Johnny Morton, David Shaw,
Right.
having a reason to promote Kelvin Shepard. He's not just promoting some scrub off the streets. They've been grooming him for this moment.
It's that team of the 90s shit, too. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys were going to fall apart before it even started, right?
Mm-hmm.
The great Norv Turner. Dave Wanstead. There goes your offensive coordinator. There goes your defensive coordinator. And you know what? 3 Super Bowl later. And, oh, by the way, nothing for those two combined. And you see, when you build something, okay, I don't care what any players play in this league, okay? And that's why coordinators always have to check their egos. You know, when you got that coordinator in here that says, oh, no, it's my system. You have to fit my system. No. You make your system fit the player. That's the way it always should be.
Well, you know what? Before he left, I saw some flaws in Ben Johnson's game. He's not infallible. I still say against the Commanders, 3rd and 1, empty backfield. When you're running the ball up and down the field, you decide empty backfield pass. Now, on 3rd and 1, I'll admit you can pass, but you have to have a running back in the backfield so they don't know what you're going to do.
And everybody and their brother knows, even if it failed, they were going for it on 4th down. Right? Everybody knew that. Like, I knew that. But honestly, that was one of those moments, Terry, even when you said it, that's why I cringe. Because when they went out there with the empty set, literally, I'm watching that game, I go, what the hell is he doing? At least give me the threat, the possibility that you might hand the ball off behind that line, right? And if I'm the defense at that point in time, I pin my ears back. Oh, they ain't running the ball because Jared Goff ain't running the option, the naked bootleg outside.
And if you're gonna start David Montgomery in that game, remember he came back from it a meniscus or PCL? He came back from his knee injury. You started him in the game, which was a little odd because Gibbs has been running like a madman. So if you're gonna start him, why not put him in that backfield at 3rd and 1?
Right.
But even with all of that happening. And I think there was a blown assignment on the offensive line. The reason it didn't work is because Amon-Ra St. Brown tripped on the field. Like, it still worked. But you're right. Actually, the one thing that makes me slightly nervous about that man in Chicago now is that he did assimilate his offense to Jared Goff, to the players in Detroit. The thing is, though, he did it with help from guys like Johnny Morton along the way. So let's not write off what Dan Campbell is building again and again. Let's not forget that he's going to get more 3rd and 4th round picks because his coaches are going to get hired by other teams because he's an elite coaching talent evaluator.
Okay, and let me say something else. Once again, the Lions are a real organization.
Yes.
Now, a real organization will look at their offensive coordinator and says, damn, the whole league wants this man. We better start thinking about his replacement. Even though he's here. Now, a crappy organization is like, everybody wants him in this league. Oh, woe's us. Damn, what are we going to do about it? But I would have to believe that the Lions were already working on a replacement for Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn when they first heard the first rumors that people were interested in them. So I think they're going to be fine. The coordinator thing doesn't bother me. It's the talent on the field.
You got it. You got it. I'm sorry. I'm a firm believer in players play, man. And that doesn't mean you don't give coordinators and coaches flowers. Okay, they deserve their flowers too. Players play, talent. You get the right mix in there, and that's one thing. Like you said, Broder, in conjunction with Brad
Broder?
Holmes. Sorry.
It's serious.
That's the thing, serious. No, but that really and truly, that's the thing. In conjunction with Brad Holmes, Dan has done a good job of saying he fits. I want you. I love what he said to Williams on draft day. You ready? You ready to work? That's the kind of stuff I like to hear. That, hey, big man, we're going to need you to put in the work. This is up to you. You're on the clock now. I mean, that type of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I think that appeals to the very nature of football, and that's what makes Dan Campbell so successful so far.
I'll take it a step further, too, is I have no concern over Morton.
Start that sentence over again. What were you saying?
I have no concern over Johnny Morton. I'll take it a step further because of the fact that I believe that at certain points Ben Johnson got too cute. We are driving with a chance to get within a one-possession game in the NFC playoff game against the Washington Commanders, and he decides he's going to run a bootleg to Jameson Williams and have him pass and throw an interception to seal the game. Like, that's something I don't feel like you're going to get with Johnny Moore, and he's more of a no-nonsense. He's going to be more meat and potatoes. He's going to just run the offense the way that it's supposed to be run, where we have so many elite players around the field where you don't have to do all that cute plays that Ben Johnson gets in the habit of doing. You can just run your offense. We have the better players on the field, and at that point, you just need to use them.
You know what that is? That is a case of my shit don't stink.
That's 100%.
I can do anything I want. You can't stop me. If you got something to say to me, your mama. That's what that was all
Like,
about.
I don't want to throw disrespect to the man, and I don't think any of you guys are. I want you to,
Right.
I refuse to say his name. He's a bear now. Seriously.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw disrespect to the man, but Terry, smartest guy in the room syndrome. All these guys, I don't care who you are, they hear what people in the league are saying. They see the headlines. You know the old rules here. I don't listen to the media.
Yeah.
I don't read the newspapers. Sure you don't. Okay, sweetheart.
Yeah, but you wrote I wear pink shoes.
Exactly.
Right.
Isn't that amazing how that works out? It happens. It's human nature. If you have all these people around you telling you how great you are, you know what? Maybe you just start thinking to yourself how great you are. And I think that, and so that's why I'm not dogging the guy. I'm not dogging the guy, but that smartest guy in the room stuff is real. It's especially with the younger guys. Now you're an old dude who's been there and done that. What are you going to tell Bill Belichick that he hasn't heard already? You know? I mean, other than we're not answering that question.
Or here's something you can tell them. Your girlfriend wears go-go boots during practice.
Yes, yes. And we're not answering that question as well.
Right.
But really,
Neither is he.
It was real, but look, there's a reason why Ben John, I didn't say it, I said half his name.
How about
Yeah.
Benny?
Okay, there's a reason why Benny was a coveted guy. And I mean, he's really good at his job, but even guys that are really good at their job, you can get that smartest guy in the room gene. And I think we saw that a few times. Can I go back to the Tampa game? In my opinion, I thought people completely brushed the Tampa game like just under the rug. I did. And of course we forgot about it because they went on an incredible winning streak after that. But what the hell were they doing the entire fourth quarter?
Yeah.
That was just a head scratcher. That was really a head scratcher. And so based on that, you're not, Terry, you said it, you're not infallible. This is not, I don't care who you are, whether you're Brad Holmes, whether you're Dan Campbell, or you're that guy at offensive coordinator. But yes, we saw a little bit of that. The smartest guy in the room, your shit don't stink thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's real.
Terry Sean, another $5 super chat from Byrne. He says, with how desirous we are of the Eagles and Chiefs, no one looks at their history and how many times they got kicked in the nuts for decades. Again, playing into your point about, hey, the good teams, they have some down years or get criticized, but the great ones, they turn it back around.
I'll agree with that, but I will say this. The Chiefs and the Eagles didn't get kicked in the nuts for 6 decades.
Fair. I'm not going to argue
Which
with
is
that.
a little bit different. Here's how I can tell if somebody is young. I can close my eyes, and if somebody tells me the following statement or told me the following statement 4 or 5 years ago, I knew they were a young person. And this has happened to me. The Lions have been bad for a decade. Like, dude, how old are you? 12? 15?
Mm-hmm.
I said, dude.
They've been bad forever.
Yeah, they were bad when I was your age.
Forever.
Trevor.
Even when Calvin Johnson was here, they were an incomplete team. They had glaring issues. I'll restart. Even when they had Calvin Johnson, they had glaring issues. They never had an offensive line. They never had a defensive line. They were never built through the trenches. They were never built to win playoff football games. And you're now just seeing with this regime them actually do that. And that's why they're successful.
We had a legitimate offense 1 year with a legitimate defensive coordinator that everybody thought was going to become the next hot name. And I've said this before. I've talked to guys in this room. I'm not going to say any names, but guys in that room knew that was a 1 year window. Mm-hmm. They knew.
You can feel it.
They knew. As hyped as we were in 2014, okay, and as good as that defense was, and we went 11-5. every guy in that room, and I don't know if they'd admit it to you, every guy in that room knew it's now or never, because we ain't going to be this good next year. And coincidentally, somebody whispered in his ear the very next year, I ain't doing this anymore, man. It's time for me to go do something else. I'm going to go enjoy my bud, and I'm going to heal my body. And I mean, that's where this franchise, I mean, you guys, whether we want, this franchise has driven people to that.
Think about this. Calvin Johnson said, I'd rather sit around and smoke weed than play for the Detroit Lions. I want to give you another little stat that's I find amazing.
Fortunately true.
Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson played a combined 19 years for the Detroit Lions. Both Hall of Famers. Both you can make a debate whether they're the best at their position of all time. 19 years of Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders. One playoff win. One.
Not desirous.
I go back
No.
to that honest to goodness, and I know I brought this up earlier about the Tigers. I go back to that day, all right? Early January 1992, my buddies and I were hammered at that game. I mean, hammered. Because, you know what? I'm not a drink during the game guy. I'm not. Anybody that knows me. But as they just kept pouring it on the Cowboys, it was like, give me another beer. Like that. You told me on that day that team, that core, wasn't going to win another playoff game. Terry, I know you'll appreciate this. I probably would have fought you. I like, seriously, it's like, all right, let's go. I'm not getting in a fight in here. As soon as we get in the parking lot, you better get him up because I am going to throw a haymaker at you. I mean, right?
a great analogy.
That's as crazy. How could you say something like that? Look, where's the weakness of this team? We said all that, even with, in essence, the third guy on the totem pole is the quarterback, okay? Rodney Peete was the starter. Andre Ware was surely going to be the heir apparent because remember how good he was in college? We were still saying things like that to ourselves. Shame on us.
Well, you didn't say that if you actually went to a Lions practice and saw Andre Ware play.
He couldn't throw.
You couldn't.
He couldn't throw. It was weird.
Yeah.
He couldn't throw.
Like, are we
He had
talking
no
Alex
touch on the
Orgy
ball.
level here?
Yes, at the NFL. Yes. He could not. I remember, Terry, the exhibition game where I think it was against the Bengals. I don't know. It was kind of his last hurrah, and everybody's talking about what a great camp he had. And he came out and he threw a simple flare. I don't know if you remember this. And it was 5 feet short. And honestly, in that moment, like the air just went out of the Silverdome. It was just like, wow, we wasted a first-round draft choice on this guy. And this was after him years of being there, but we were sold that hype train of he figured it out. We're putting him in positions of comfortability. And it was like the first throw was 5 feet short, and everybody kind of went,
Oh.
wow, we just wasted that Heisman Trophy first-round pick. It's unbelievable. But, Terry, you're right. The younger generation don't get it. They don't. And I think the 80s are kind of like the forgotten decade for the Lions. Mm-hmm. You know, I really do. I mean, whether it be the Kevin House play, whether it be Monty Clark on this, Dwight Clark, Joe Montana, and the 49ers, we have them literally on the ropes. Our quarterback in that same game, a guy by the name of Gary Danielson, anybody ever know what became of him? Threw not one, not two, not three, not four, 5 interceptions. 5. And the Lions found themselves in position with one of the better kickers in the league, I might add, to knock off the mighty 49ers in Frisco. Anybody have any idea what happened?
I think he may have missed.
That's what. So Terry, the younger generation, they don't get what we went through. They don't get it. I'm sorry, you don't. You can't relate. You guys haven't seen Dick either, but this franchise has just hurt my soul.
They hurt your soul. I used to just laugh at them. I thought this was a comedy of errors, and I never understood why Lion fans always believed that they were going to be good with that cast of characters.
Can I ask you, gents, a question?
Sure.
Where was there more outrage in the fan base when they drafted Ware or when they didn't draft an edge in 2025? Like, is it a different type of outrage? Like, what do we compare this to?
As I remember it, Terry, I think most everybody liked the Ware pick because he was going to fit perfectly with a guy named Mouse Davis. Mm-hmm. It was a perfect fit. And we finally have because we went through, if you look at some of the names of the guys who quarterbacked the Detroit Lions in the late 70s and the 80s, it was awful. It was, there's no other way. We got a guy named Joe Ferguson who was pretty good in Buffalo, but was probably 5 years past his prime. And like 5 years past his prime. Eric Hipple, Gary Danielson, Witkowski, Comlo, Rusty Hilger. I mean, we had just a bevy of losers, and I think we were desirous of finally having a legitimate quarterback. So Terry, that's how I remember it as a fan. I wasn't in the media yet.
Yeah, they were not. They were happy about that, but they did have a legitimate quarterback. And they let him go.
Mm-hmm. You running off those names of quarterbacks reminds me of the, what was it, mid to late 2000s? The Jeff Garcia, Mike McMahon, Dante Culpepper 5 years after his prime. I'm hearing it's like a cycle, or it's been a cycle since they hired this new regime.
All right,
are my feelings off?
Actually, they had a legit quarterback. Is Eric Kramer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They pissed him off, and he left and went to Chicago.
You still think he's the best quarterback in Lions history? We had this argument on Woodward and Maine. Or do you pick Stafford? Not to go down that route. We can move on.
And I'll get in trouble. I think the best quarterback in Lions history, Matt Stafford.
See, I've already disagreed with him for.
Okay, here's what Matt Stafford had to do.
There, Sean.
His general manager, Matt Millen.
Mm-hmm.
Then you follow that up with Quinn Tricia.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way he was going to win here. Yes, he made mistakes. Yes, he would always get picked off in the third quarter. But you had incompetent, front office.
Yeah, and when you're talented and not able to elevate your team as a leader, as the quarterback, as the one who drives the entire team, you aren't good enough to get that team a playoff victory.
All right, let me stop you. He couldn't elevate the worst franchise in pro sports history.
True. He couldn't do what Jared Goff's doing right now.
Jared
Still
Goff,
the worst organization in sports history.
Do you think Jared Goff would have won playoff games and led the Lions to, let's say, an NFC championship game?
I don't know.
With Matt Millen?
I don't know. I know Jared Goff would have won a Super Bowl with Jalen Ramsey and Von Miller and everything that the Rams added that year.
So with Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I could add, though, Broder? And I've already confessed my sins at this. I was a guy, I thought that Jared Goff was shot. Mm-hmm. I did. I openly admit it.
I've heard you.
I've confessed my sins. And he played like a guy that was shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, and you're right, I don't know. I don't like to talk about that which I know. But to answer Terry's question, I wonder if we would have seen Goff Rams later years if he was a Lion. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my only I don't, because Jared Goff to me is the poster child of what a quarterback can do when you actually decide you're going to protect him and put him in positions of comfortability.
Yeah.
That's what, because I would hope that everybody would admit today. I know nobody wanted to say it 3 years ago, but Jared Goff was lost. Mm-hmm. The last couple years with the Rams, it was the turnovers, it was the fumbles, it was the interceptions, it was the looking scared. And it was because that offensive line was offensive. And then all of a sudden the Rams say, well, we're going to put a premium on the offensive line and we're going to protect Matthew Stafford, and they win a Super Bowl.
Weird.
And I didn't think that was fair to Jared Goff. I didn't think that was fair.
Right.
But give him that offensive line and let's see what would happen. And then the next year, what happened? We were all sitting back going, well, shit, we're going to get the 29th pick, the 30th pick. That offensive line had a couple of big injuries. Matthew Stafford looked awful, and the Rams went like that, thus giving us a higher draft pick. So it was different circumstances,
right.
I guess, is the way that I would.
But you know who else looked that way?
Who's that?
Patrick Mahomes.
In 2 Super Bowls.
In 2 Super Bowls. Why? His offensive line was shot.
Yep. It's amazing
So
how that happens, isn't it?
anybody,
It's weird.
anybody can look pedestrian if you don't have an offensive line.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why Brad Holmes, who's defending himself, got some new pieces for the offensive line. He knows he has to protect that line even more than an edge rusher if the lines are going to be good,
Definitely.
because he's got a quarterback that needs that protection, and he's also got a little thing called a running game.
Yes. He can pump his chest out. We're talking about the draft and his response to fans and media calling for an edge rusher here in 2025. He can pump his chest out about wanting Jared Goff, believing in him, seeing what 99% of us Detroit sports fans, Lions fans, didn't see. And now he's doing all the things to protect who he's got, like you said. Well, let's not forget, in the last 2 years, in the second, fourth, and sixth round, he may have just drafted his future interior offensive line. I think one of Mahogany, Ratledge, and Miles Frazier are going to be Frank's replacement at center.
It's chess.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. You're right.
So then you got Penei Sewell, who's 24 years old, or maybe he's 23. He's under 25. You got to figure out about Manu. You got to figure out Decker's replacement eventually. But these dogs he drafted out of Georgia, out of LSU, and out of Boston College with a great offensive line coach, there's the future of your interior offensive line to answer what the Vikings are doing in their free agency, going after defensive tackles, to answer what the Bears are doing, adding interior defenders and linebackers to give him pressure up the middle. Jared Goff is not good. He's not a good quarterback when he's got pressure coming up the middle. He could deal with it coming around the outside, and Penei Sewell will deal with that too. But when it comes up the middle, Jared Goff makes mistakes. When he feels it around him, he's good at stepping up into the pocket and delivering a 5, 10, 15-yard throw to Tim Patrick or St. Brown or Isaac TeSlaa.
Terry, you know what's funny too is and this goes back to what you were saying about what a different franchise this is now. But like, we talk about Eric Kramer, and rightfully so. I mean, he won a playoff game, for goodness sake. You know, and Terry, I'm sure you know this because you were covering the team. He told me, you know what he used to routinely do that made him beloved amongst his teammates? Wayne Fontes was a buffoon. He was a buffoon. And Wayne Fontes would call in a play, and Eric Kramer would go into the huddle and say, "We ain't fucking doing that." True story. Eric told me that with his own lips. Like, literally, he told me that with his own lips. And when he said that, one of his offensive linemen, a guy by the name of Lomas Brown, roared. And he was like, "Oh, Eric, I used to laugh so hard at that." They would call something in, and Eric would look to the sideline and go, "Yeah, cool, that's great. Okay, guys, that guy's a fucking idiot. This is what we're gonna do," and it worked. And all of a sudden, the Lions got on that roll in '91, and so that made all the guys in the room go like this, because that was Terry. You can speak to this better, but my perception, and from talking to, they all loved Wayne, but they knew what Wayne was. Yeah. Is that the fair statement?
That is accurate. Guys that I talked to who were on that team said that Wayne should have been replaced. And a lot of times ego goes in there, because at that time I called the Lions the 3 Mile Islands, because the players felt they were always right, the coaches felt they were always right, and the front office always thought they were right. But the players will look at the coaches and say, they're buffoons. Look at the front office and say, they're buffoons. Front office will look at the players and say, we ain't got good players, and our coaching staff is messed up. So everybody was pointing over here. You suck, I'm good. That's what that team was all about.
It really was. It was.
Now, Here's the thing that I would say about that team. Wayne Fontes is the head coach, right? He hires 2 defensive back coaches. They're both his brothers. One's name is Fontes. The other is Fontes. They're all brothers, and they all have 3 different last names. Or at least they pronounce them differently.
Yeah, it was. That was a unique time. But that's how far we've come as a franchise, man. That's that's how far we've come as a franchise. And I think, this is one thing that we always talk about generations. Well, all the generations can agree. We're not that far removed from 2020 and really the first half of 2021. You know, which it was awful. It was awful, awful. And in typical Lion fashion, the first half of 2022, I won't go as far as saying it was awful, but it was bad. I do believe there's a difference between bad and awful.
Yeah.
You know, but you kind of saw what they were doing, and out of nowhere, it just stopped in the middle of that season, and they started winning games. And they nearly got themselves in the playoff. And so I think that's one thing that we can all agree on is in real time, we got to watch a franchise and a coach grow up in front of our very eyes. It's pretty cool.
Right. Now, I'm going to have to tell this story, and it's your fault because you're an asshole.
Well,
But,
validity of that.
you're talking about how bad it was under Wayne Fonts.
Yeah.
I was writing columns, and I was attacking the secondary, saying they stunk. So I went into the locker room, and I'm about to leave, and somebody grabs me and pulls me into a dark room. It was a secondary, and they had this film frozen. And then somebody said, I want you to count how many yards we're off the line of scrimmage. So I went 1, 2, 3 yards off, 4, 5, 6 yards off, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then I was told, what are we supposed to do? With 13 yards off the line of scrimmage, who we guarding? I said, well, I guess nobody. That was your Detroit Lions.
It was real. It was real. Boy, some of those guys in the secondary, without mentioning names, if you wanted a good quote, you go talk to a couple guys in that secondary.
Were they handsy?
They couldn't be handsy because they're too far off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Well, probably the best one who would just talk all kinds of trash was William White.
Uh-huh.
That dude, he went to Denver. He was always pissed off.
Really?
Yeah, you come in like, damn, I got to do this again. And did I tell you they were 13 yards off the line of scrimmage?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
William White. You want your quarterbacks to have a little sauce, a little sass too, but it doesn't sound like it was directed in the right way back in those days.
It wasn't.
And we had good teams. I mean, we had teams that went to the playoffs. I mean, that's the thing that people for NFC Championship won the at the time it was called the Central. Won the Central. You know, I got sucked in '95. I openly admit it. Like they were a team that looked dead in the water. They were 3-6. And Terry, as you know, the win streak to save Wayne usually came later in the year. They decided they were going to start at midseason. They won 7 games. They go into the playoffs 10-6. You're like,
Yeah, they do.
we might be the team to beat.
Yeah.
It was the save Wayne Fonts' ass rally.
Yeah.
So many times. And then Philadelphia happened. So, yeah, we're in a different place right now. And that's why I didn't used to like to talk about things like that. Now you talk about it because this franchise, the better days are ahead. And I cannot believe under any circumstance, especially when I hear somebody talk about the window being closed, I almost want to say, dude, Google's your friend. Pull up this roster and check out the ages on these guys. How on earth could you say that the window's closed when you've got this many guys that young at critical positions? It's mind-boggling to me.
I got a critical question for both of you.
Hit us.
The Lions finally make the Super Bowl and win. We don't know when it's going to happen. Is Dan Campbell still the head coach of the Lions, or will it be his successor?
Oh, Dan Campbell will be the coach. I'll answer that real quick. If you have a different opinion, let it fly.
right,
Dan
serious?
Campbell will coach this team to their first Super Bowl.
No, I think he will too. I really do. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. I don't remember. Not Terry. I'm not. This isn't like back in the day going in there every day. They really do a good job of showing a united front. It just seems like everybody's on the same page. I can't imagine of a circumstance in which this blows apart. Does that make sense?
It does, but every franchise blows apart at some point.
Sure, absolutely.
Dan Campbell will be fired as the Lions coach one day.
Eventually.
Right.
Yep.
So do they make that big run with him as the head coach?
I really, truly believe in the next couple of years. I'm not even talking as a fan. I'm not really. I feel dirty putting that into the atmosphere. I do, because I grew up a Lion fan. But I'm gonna go take a really long shower when I get home when we're done with this.
Cold.
Yes, in the next couple of years. In the next couple of years, I honestly, really, truly believe that.
Because when you look at them, who's the obstacles? Philadelphia. I don't think it's going to be San Francisco anymore.
I don't think
They
so.
kind of left. Then
Washington.
Washington. Is it going to be Minnesota in the division? Is it going to be the Bears elevating themselves? The Bears have to catch the Lions. Minnesota has to catch the Lions. Green Bay has to catch the Lions. But I'm talking about who out there is ahead of the Lions now that the Lions are going to have to knock upside the head.
It's so funny. I can't help but go back to something that you mentioned last week, Terry. The short memories that people have, because all year long when I was sitting in with Neil and the boys on Big D, I said, and this is documented, I feared the Eagles. I did. And it's like people forget that a year ago at this time, Nick Sirianni surely was going to be fired.
Yes.
Surely was going to be fired, right? And it didn't work. Look how they collapsed at the end of last season. I can't believe you're still talking shit
Division in the locker room.
right? I can't believe you're still talking shit about Philadelphia. And now all of a sudden they're Super Bowl champion. And not just Super Bowl champion, but the model of how NFL franchises should be run. When the reality is, Howie's been doing work for a while now, fellas.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Philadelphia was in way worse shape then than the Lions are today. So there's hope. You just follow the game plan. You ignore the fans. I would like an edge rusher, but Brad Holmes is not an idiot. He knows that they need a little bit more pressure. He's got something in his back pocket.
He does.
I don't know if it's Zadarius Smith or Trey Hendrickson or something.
I have a feeling a couple. I really do. I have a feeling we'll find a couple. I
You
think
only need one.
Yeah, I think Zadarius Smith is like a given. I do. I'm very
Desirous.
serious when I think desirous. But I wouldn't be surprised, Terry, you make a little move, and it doesn't have to be a big one. You make a little move at the trade deadline and get a guy, and hey, you want to play for a ring? Because the difference between then and now is these guys are interchangeable. We knew, like Broder, to this day, I always laugh. You ask a dude our age, you knew who the running back was on every team to this day, because that was the guy. That was the one guy that got the ball. That was the guy. And defensive front fours had silly little nicknames. There was the Doomsday Defense. There was the Steel Curtain. There was the Silver Rush. And you're talking about, Terry, 4 guys that were in first down, second down, third down a majority of the time. They're pieces now. You move pieces in and out. This is our third down specialist. This is our guy. Okay, we need that beef in the middle. This is a running down, so we need that beef in the middle. Whatever the case may be. So they're interchangeable pieces now. They are.
That defensive line in NFL football has evolved to be like a bullpen in baseball, where you're looking for specialists at certain points of the game.
I think so.
And how to play chess with the other coach. When do you bring this guy in? You're predicting, they're going to go play action on this play. Whatever the case may be, it is much more interchangeable. At the same time, they're getting the money too, so their value is rising.
Right. Your defensive line is not 4 guys, it's 7 now.
Yeah.
Because they're rotating them in and out. And one of my philosophies, and nobody in the NFL will say this, they're fat and out of shape.
Yeah.
So they need a break.
Yeah.
And plus, you have to continue your high level of play, and you can't do it with the guy going, man, I don't know how I'm going to make
The
the
hands
next
on
play.
the hip, right?
Yeah.
The hands on the hip.
When your hand's on the hip, you sit your ass down.
Especially now with the love for going for it on fourth down. The Dan Campbell's injecting into the NFL. We see Dan Quinn do it in Washington. It's becoming a 4-down offensive league too. So you need those interchangeable pieces. I do have to ask you guys, we were talking about it before the show, but this is inspired by Philip Thomas in the chat. Says, where did it go? Question, is Isaac TeSlaa going to be a factor when the playoffs start in 2025? We got rookie minicamp coming up, I think May 9th, in less than a week. TeSlaa was the guy that they traded up to get in the 3rd round. Is he going to be a factor in the playoffs?
What? We are blessed today to have TeSlaa's agent here. Jesus, take it away.
Well, I am an absolute sicko, so I watch more college football than the average person, and I happen to watch a lot of Arkansas football games last year. And the biggest thing with Isaac TeSlaa in the media is the fact that he was a slot receiver and he hasn't played a lot outside. So they say he's limited on his play on the outside. I'm here to tell you that Taylon Green is a very, very similar quarterback to Alex Orji. Maybe a little bit more of a skilled passer, but still in that same class where he is a running quarterback to the core. Isaac TeSlaa really only got chances in the slot because Taylon Green struggles to throw the ball on the outside. When he throws the ball on the inside, he's a little more accurate, and that's where Isaac TeSlaa got a main target share when he was at Arkansas. He is very explosive. When you have him in space, he is very hard to cover. I believe he has a lot more upside on the outside than people say. Especially being in a room with Amon-Ra St. Brown, when he lacks the movement that Amon-Ra St. Brown has with his cuts and his routes, being in a room with a guy like that and learning from him and being able to polish himself, not having to jump into the offensive wall. We still have Tim Patrick. We still have Khalif Raymond, but now we have another offensive athletic freak to add to this team. Now when there's those end arounds to JMO, maybe it's going to TeSlaa on a reverse, and it adds another element to everything that this offense wants to do, and it also keeps some of that wear and tear off JMO, because when we're talking about the sustainability of a wide receiver, like you're seeing it with Deebo Samuel, he's kind of breaking down as his career goes on because of those carries that he got when he was playing like this running back role for the 49ers, and we want to keep those hits off JMO, so if we can have another weapon that we can give those end arounds to and preserve him for that deep passing game in his main role, we're just adding more and more weapons to this offense to make it more versatile.
Thank you, Agent Jesus.
You know what? I'm going to try to. What was the word he used? Is he going to be impactful?
Is going to be a factor
Yes.
for the Lions when the playoffs start.
Yes, as long as you're not expecting him to blow up. How's
Right.
that?
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm with that.
Be part of the recipe. Yes.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for 10 receptions, 179
Hell no.
yards, not yet. Not yet. The thing that I heard, and Justin, you tell me, and I got a chance to see this kid in high school, actually. You got to remember, he's still learning the position, too.
yeah.
He is. He's still learning the position. And the thing that I know the draft beatnik said is he needs to get crisper with his routes. That's the one thing. And that's
Coachable.
You got it.
That's not something you're born with or not.
You got it.
A good coach in a
You
good
can
room.
fix that.
Yeah.
You
yes.
can fix that.
Yes.
You can't fix the fact that the sundial would beat me in the 40.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm never. That's never going to be something for me. Even when I was a kid, the sundial was going to beat me in a 40. You can't fix that. You can make a guy run crisper routes.
Coaching will help, but I also say he's got St. Brown in the room.
Mm-hmm.
St. Brown is a dude. He must be doing something out there, because if it's 3rd and 7, everybody knows the ball is going to Amon-Ra St. Brown. The fans know it. The defense know it. The offense knows it. But guess what? Completed for 8 yards, first down. So he's doing something. He's figured something out they can pass along. Is it TeSlaa or TeSlaa?
TeSlaa.
TeSlaa.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like there's some emphasis on the A. But like you said, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think that you saw Amon-Ra St. Brown's impact on Jamison Williams last season. I think his routes were a lot better. You could see his route tree had developed over the offseason. And it definitely helped that he actually had some more time in the building this year instead of the suspension. But I think that you're going to see by the playoffs, you're going to see him have a gadget play or two, and he can make a big play from that. So I would expect some type of impact. But by year 2, I expect him to be a rotational piece in this wide receiver room, especially the way that we've seen route runners can come in here and improve. And that's what I'm looking for from him, to come in here, have some gadget plays, be an impactful flash player, but then really improve so that he can be in that rotation to get some real targets in year 2.
Thank you, young man. We're going to keep you around.
Thank you, T. Foss.
You're not going to get fired. All right?
I want to throw something at you guys, if I may. I'm a firm believer in the NFL always wins. The NFL always wins. Every decision they make ends up being the right decision. I don't know how they do it. I always use, what moment convinced me is when they switch Thanksgiving to 3 games. because I was
Right.
I was that grumpy old man. You don't have a third game. Detroit at 12:30, Dallas at 4:20. That's the way it's been. That's the way it always should be. I mean, I was the old man screaming at the cloud. Okay, and within a year, I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, loved it. Okay, because it was the perfect timing when Dallas is getting crucified on a Thanksgiving day. I could let that tryptophan do its job, pass out in the fourth quarter of the game. I don't need to see it, and then I'm ready to go back at 7:30. Here's when we were kids, and I told you know this. I was an avid reader of the Detroit News. I love the Detroit News. No disrespect to the other guys. I just the late edition and everything. You know, you had all the updated boxes and all of that crap. Okay, but when I was a kid, Broder, the NFL schedule for the following year just showed up one day in the paper. There was no announcement.
No.
There was no. Hey, you guys. The NFL schedule's out, and we're going to have it out on June 2nd, whatever the case may be. It just showed up in the paper one day, and you know what you did? You looked at it, and you went, oh, that's cool. And then you turn the page, you see what the Tiger stats were, okay? I am one of those guys. Like, it's 10 days away, and I can't wait for the schedule.
I was say, do you know what May 15th is?
Yeah, I like, literally.
Are you ready?
Terry, the NFL did it to me. And like as I was driving here today, I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, so 10 days from now, who are they going to – and I was like, the NFL wins. The NFL –
You're thinking about it. You're in the car thinking about it.
Baby boy is going to start before 10 days because probably sometime next week we're going to hear the Lions are going to open up against Green Bay
Leak.
at home.
Leak.
They leak stuff. They leak stuff. And you know what? The leaks are always right too.
You know, to me, the first leak that and I could be wrong, the first leak that I remember seeing every year is who they have on Thanksgiving. It always seems like that's the first leak that comes out, right? Because that's such a holy day for us.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, you know what? I'm going to work on this.
All right.
I'm going to present a leak for the Detroit Lions. Let me work on this, and I'm going to announce it on Woodward Sports on one of these shows if they let me on there.
Awesome.
So that's my goal. I'm going to be a leak.
That won't surprise me.
I got a guy. No, seriously, I got a guy who might know. In fact,
You got a guy?
I got a guy. And you know what this guy told me? The Lions, and this came out a little bit with in the last few days, but he told me like a month ago that the NFL talked to the Lions about having the NFL draft again within the next 5 years. Now, he told me this, that there was some knucklehead at the meeting who doesn't want Detroit to have the thing. And so they were talking about, well, Detroit needs more hotel rooms. And they're talking about, for the NFL draft, having cruise ships at the port, I don't know what it is, Port of Detroit, whatever it is, having cruise ships so they
By
can
the
get more
Renaissance.
people in here. They feel they could have got even more people in here if they ran out of hotel rooms. Now, there was a doofus at the meeting. So the doofus came to Detroit. He called around. He said he got hotel rooms wherever he wanted. He says, there's no hotel room shortage. And they said, doofus, the NFL draft is not in town. People ain't coming to Detroit in April. You can get a room anywhere. We have a hotel room shortage. And the doofus was like, okay, I guess. But there have been talks, at least talks, about Detroit getting the NFL draft again within the next 5 years.
It'll be even better. I mean, once you do it once, the things that, and I big fan of the Detroit Sports Commission. I think they've done a fantastic job with so many events, but the infrastructure, I think things could have worked better on draft day. You could always say that, though. That's not a shot. You could always say that. So you know what? You learn from what works and what maybe didn't work, and I think it'll be bigger and better. But the problem is you have to give the same people the chance because they lived through it the first time.
Right.
They know better than if Terry and I were the guys that did all the planning, and then we say, you know what, young Justin Broder and Kool-Aid, Willie, you help out too. You guys are going to do the next one, okay? You haven't been there. You haven't done it, so you don't know and haven't seen what we saw. And Terry, I'm surprised that the Super Bowl hasn't been back. And I know it's only been, going on 20 years. I'm surprised because I remember that chatter after the Super Bowl was here. I remember people saying we're going to be back sooner rather than later. And I'm kind of surprised that we haven't been on the docket for that.
Well, I think Detroit got a break because the weather wasn't god-awful then. I don't think the NFL believes that could happen again. It's going to be 20 below.
Yeah, the day before with all that snow, people seemed to like it. That was the great. Remember that the day before we got one of those, boom, 6-inch snowstorms, and people seemed to like it. Because I've always laughed, Terry. A lot of holier-than-thou pious individuals that talk about how what they do is a job are also the same people on the other side of their mouth that bitch about the weather in Minnesota or bitch about the weather in Atlanta or bitch about the... Well,
wait a second. You're talking about New Yorkers.
Yeah, right. Wait a second. Hold on a second. This is your job. This isn't a vacation to you. Then who gives a fuck what the weather is? That always made me laugh when I hear people complain about that. Those two don't jive, right? So let's be honest and call it what it is. It is a vacation for you. Yes, you'd rather be in Miami, whatever the case may be. So I don't think that should enter the equation at all. And the one thing that we learned definitively, it doesn't matter where you are. You should have seen the Steeler fans that descended on this place, man. It was insane. So much
Steeler fans don't care where they are.
No.
You could have the Super Bowl in Anchorage and they'd be happy.
Yep. It was, but the NFL wins. That's just time and time again. As long as we accept that for the fact, we just move on with our day.
Now, I predict the NFL draft will come back within 5 years, but there's a major problem. Where are you going to have it? Because where they had it before, they're building this thing called Cosm. And it's this huge, cool-looking movie theater feel where they're going to show games there, and you're going to feel like you're at the game.
That thing's so cool.
Yes.
One of those like VR AI domes.
Which
That sounds
is
interesting.
similar to Spear in Las Vegas, which I went to a few weeks ago. That thing was incredible.
Was it sweet?
It was sweet. So this is going to be I don't want to call it a mini version of it, but a smaller version of it, but it's really, really cool.
Turn
I can
Belle
pull up a
Isle into
picture for you
draft
guys.
aisle. Right?
That's a thought. I mean, how do you get people on and off efficiently is one thing, but how cool would that be?
They did it for the Grand Prix.
Did they? Mm-hmm. Over 1 million people?
And if you're talking about...
Yeah, they could do that.
If you're talking about boats and things like that you brought up,
Yeah, boats and
you got
hose.
lots of... Gotta get me some boats and hose. No, you've got all the docks there that you can, ferries can come down, things can come down. I don't know, something different like that. Draft aisle, and there's an island. People don't know there's an island between Canada and Detroit, and you can be the smarmy guy informing everybody exactly what's going on, and it's just different. That would be, and I think the NFL likes different. I do.
They like different, and you could have in front of the train station.
That would be cool.
That would be unbelievable.
That concert they had with Eminem and Jelly Roll and Trick Trick was a year ago when they reintroduced the train station. Throw it there. That's a good idea.
Wow.
They got plenty of places to go. And I think the point you all have been making, the NFL always wins. We're talking about the schedule release. You know what I'm interested in? I don't want to say the most, but I'm interested in a lot more than I should be. When's the Lions bye week? Mm-hmm. I'm genuinely interested in when the bye week is. Because, you're strategizing, okay, they'll have this many games before. Are they going to be rested going into the playoffs? They had week 5 last year?
Yeah, it was too early last year.
Yeah, so it's the freaking bye week. But I'm fascinated of where it's going to land this year. That's absurd for me to even think about. We're going to have a conversation about
No,
the
it's
bye
actually not, because in a few years, Broder or Sirius, whatever your name is, you're going to be saying, when are the Lions bye weeks? Because they're probably going to have 2 bye weeks. They're going to go to 18
That's a
games.
good point.
Yep, it's coming.
$1 bill.
I'm surprised they never went back to it. People forget they tried it one year. It was 93. They tried it one year. And I even talked to a former Lions employee, Bill Keenis, and he said, I'm surprised they never went back to it. Like that would be something that I think would make all parties happy. You can extend the season, and the owners see the dollar signs. These guys need rest and recuperation during the year. They just do. This game is too hard, too taxing on the body, and I think 2 bye weeks makes a heck of a lot of sense. And Terry, you're right. That's coming sooner down the pike than people want to imagine.
Right. Because I know you see these big, strong, strapping guys. You should see them on a Monday afternoon. We go in the locker room. They're walking around like Jed Clampett from the Beverly Hillbillies, all hunched over. They have a million tables so they can all get massages and everything. That's a violent game.
It is.
They can barely move.
I do have a picture of the Cosm if you would like to see it.
Send
Okay,
it, baby.
sure.
So this is the Cosm. It is literally like you are in the first row of the field. You can see there is a sphere-like projection screen where you can watch the game, and then there are rows of seating, and it is literally goes back in rows like you're at a stadium.
You
It's
keep
pretty
talking.
cool.
I'm showing the guys on my laptop. This is
Yeah,
what
it's
gonna
pretty
look
cool.
like.
Right.
Hey, technology's changing the game too. You wonder how much it's going to be injected into first down calls and all these reviewable plays, end zone. We saw the Lions and the Pistons get screwed a couple weeks ago by the technology being available, but them not being able to challenge that last no call. Like, the NFL's innovating. They're innovating so much that they're not even technically legally a sports company. They're an entertainment company. So they're in bed with the casinos, with the sports books. Technology is coming.
I know that the league doesn't like people like me saying this, but the technology, and granted, I'm different, okay, because I had to work for so many years. The technology and how good it looks on television, what keeps me from going to games. I don't want to
great
go to
point.
games.
That's true. I'd rather
don't.
be in my little stupid little basement.
Thank you. I really don't. And every single year, my buddies would go, "You want to go to a game?" And if there was a game that I was going to go to like 3 years ago, and then unfortunately I couldn't go because somebody was in the hospital. But after that, I told them, I said, "Guys, don't ask me. I don't want to go. Like, I want to be at home. I want guys like Terry and I have our little smokers outside, and you want to come over? Come over. I got food. Some weeks
Brisket.
there might be 5 guys over. Some weeks there might be 15 guys over. I don't want to go.
And how long do you wait in bathroom at the line? Wait in line at the bathroom
Right.
when
Hey, you
you're
know
at
what?
home.
I was going to bring that up. The reason I don't want to go to games because I want to pee when I feel like it.
And if I have a lot of people over my house, you know what I do? I open up the back door and go, "There's the woods right there." You go walk
Yeah.
on it. You just don't get any mosquito bites on your wee-wee. But you go out there, you take care of your business and everything. And I honestly...
Well, you can spray it first.
Yeah, you could...
That might hurt a little bit.
might hurt a little
but
bit.
you're not going to get stung.
No, but I mean no disrespect to other people.
Oh, no.
I don't want to go to games anymore. I really do. There'll come a time, like I know one Thanksgiving I'll probably say to the kids, "Let's go. Let's go." You know, this is because I've only done that a couple times in my life. You have to remember, I had a dad that was one of those dads. The Lions suck and always will suck. He
Yeah.
never wanted to go to games ever. Like, I went to one game with my father, and it was an exhibition game.
Yeah.
Like, I kid you not. This franchise sucks. You'll find out one day. All that stuff. And then when I was working with my kids, I took one Thanksgiving day, quote unquote, off. I did the Fox pregame show where we were done like an hour and a half before the game, and then I said, "I'm not doing anything else before. I want to be dad today." And I took my son, and we got hammered by the Packers.
Yeah.
But I mean so consider the source. But Broder's the technology is such. The picture's so cool now. Terry, I don't want to go.
Yeah, true. And once again, and I can pee whenever I want to. But yeah, but Sean, don't you want to celebrate with your fellow Lion fans?
No, I don't care.
Hell no.
You want to get the experience here and there. Like, going to a game, there's nothing like it. But if you want to watch football and like analyze the game from our point of view, the best thing is on TV.
Right.
We got a couch. We got a big TV. You can rewind if you want. You can slow it down if you want. You got your laptop and your phone all in the same vicinity, and you can go to the bathroom.
And plus, the other thing, for most people to get tickets you can afford, you have to be up in the nosebleeds.
Those prices keep going up.
They're going up. I talked to a young man who went to WrestleMania in Vegas. Do you know how much the nosebleeds were?
Oh, boy.
$450.
Yes. Before all the fees, too, so there's another $150.
Yeah, we forget the fees. A $75 ticket is not $75.
No, sir.
It's like $104.
Yeah. Terry, Sean, Shane D in the chat says, my dad took me to one Lions game. It was Barry's 2,000-yard game versus the New York Jets.
No kidding.
That's pretty cool.
So was his dad the same? I mean, my dad was legitimately, and it came from his father, because I told you guys, Terry, I don't know if you know this, like when the Lions, not if, when the Lions win a Super Bowl, the first thing I'm doing is jumping in my car and driving to my grandfather's grave. And I'm going to dance on his grave. And I told him this while he was alive.
Yeah.
I literally told him this because he told me at a very Thanksgiving 1980 when they started laughing when the Bears returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown, and my grandfather and my dad started laughing. And I'm sitting in the corner of the room devastated. And so I know smart enough not to walk up to my dad, because my dad will go, "You're dumb, shut up." But you know, kindly, Grandpa, I said, "Grandpa, why are you laughing?"
Yeah.
Like tears in my eyes and all. And he said, "Oh, Sean, you'll understand one day. This team is going to do nothing but hurt you." So as he was, in the process of dying, I looked at him and I went and visited him. I said, "Grandpa, with your permission, may I dance on your grave when the Lions win a Super Bowl?" And he got a chuckle out of it. He goes, "Well, since it's never going to happen, yeah, you have my permission." So when the Lions, like seriously,
I know, I believe it.
I'm going to take a video of me dancing on my grandfather's grave because he told me, "Don't waste your life. Don't roost for this franchise."
If you post that on social media, you're going to get ripped.
Oh, and I couldn't care less.
All right.
And you know what? I'll also have a disclaimer with all his daughters who have also given me their permission too. They've all said, "That's awesome. Yes, you by all means dance on Grandpa's grave." But no, I mean, there were a lot of people out there, Terry, and it sounds perhaps like, who was it in the chat? His dad was one of them. My dad was like, "I'm not doing that. Dad, I have 2 free tickets." You wouldn't believe how often free tickets came around.
Yeah.
That's Terry. I have 2 free tickets to go see Tampa. I am not driving all the way up that damn Updike Road and spending even $30 on that franchise. Like that, there are a lot of people like that, man.
And there are others. The only reason I'm going to that damn stadium is to see Barry run.
Yeah.
Rah, 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 rah.
Yeah. Corey Berry followed up with Shane D. Said, "What a surreal game versus the Jets. It went from the loudest I had ever heard it in the Silverdome to the quietest when Reggie Brown got
So
hurt."
frightening. Jeez.
Yeah. Sounds like Corey Berry, you were there at that game too. Let me know that in the chat. But those are the memories that, like, we are experiencing some success with these Lions now, and it's so cool to see in the chat the more and more of these stories coming out about, kind of like you said, they had parents, relatives that were older than them, that they have these unique relationships with the Lions, with their teams, that just never experienced any success. And now that it's happening, some have passed away, some have moved on, but the generational carryover from all that, for this group to see that success and be able to talk about it either with their parent who's still alive or talking about what their dad or mom, whoever, would feel like if they were here. I love that stuff.
You know what we need to do? And this is going to be mean. I know it. 10 most horrific Lion moments.
Oh, man. The 10 worst?
Yes.
10 most horrific Lions moments? We'll have to put together a list maybe for next week or sometime this spring.
Yeah.
Are we going to do it?
This is not a top 10 one, but they've had a top 25 under Dan Campbell.
Easy.
With
Easy.
Dan Skipper. Commanders.
The Justin Tucker field goal a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah. Boing.
Talk
Against
about
the
Dan
Cowboys.
Campbell. I know we're wrapping up the show. I feel like people don't think Dan Campbell is a coach that will get better. Like he's not going to improve as a coach. He's improved every year. He's
What?
not done getting better. He's 4 years into being a head coach too.
Right.
He's as young as Penei Sewell.
Why are you coming
and
back
Amon-Ra
next
St.
week?
Brown. Hell yeah, I am.
Let's talk about it next week
There
then.
you go.
Let's go.
All right. Everybody, thank you for joining. Let me check the time. I don't want to go too soon. Oh, yeah. Everybody, thanks for joining us. And we're going to talk about, can Dan Campbell and will he improve as a coach and how?
And we'll only be a few days away from the schedule.
That's right. And we got to talk about the schedule. And we're doing it on the Lions Weekly Update Show
Reginald.
with Sean Franklin Baligian III, the long-winded one, and the lefty over here, Matthew, what was that?
Is it Greek name?
Cirrus Broder the fifth.
I can't wait.
Take care. See you next week. You better come back. Bye.